Look at the evidence. Every single religious system follows the exact same pattern. They emerge from specific cultures, reflect local values, and evolve over time. The ancient Sumerians created gods to explain thunder. The Egyptians built elaborate afterlife myths around their pharaohs, and Christianity literally borrowed resurrection stories from dozens of pre-existing mythologies. This isn't divine revelation. This is human psychology manufacturing comfort in an incomprehensible universe.
Wait, you're confusing human interpretation with divine source. Just because humans express the sacred through their cultural lens doesn't negate the underlying spiritual reality. Every civilization independently developing concepts of the transcendent, morality, and ultimate meaning isn't coincidence. It's evidence of a universal divine imprint. The fact that we even have the capacity for religious experience proves we're responding to something beyond mere survival instincts.
No, that's exactly backwards. The universal patterns you're citing are just common human needs dressed up as divine validation. Fear of death, need for social control, desire for meaning, these are evolutionary adaptations, not God's fingerprints. Look at how conveniently every religion places its particular group as chosen or enlightened. Greek gods looked Greek, Norse gods acted like Vikings, and Aztec gods demanded the same sacrifices their society already practiced. It's psychological projection on a cosmic scale.
Wait, you're cherry-picking. What about the prophets who challenged their own cultures? Jesus overturned Jewish religious establishment. Buddha rejected Hindu caste systems. Muhammad reformed Arabian tribal practices. If religion was just cultural reinforcement, why do authentic spiritual movements consistently call people beyond their immediate social conditioning? Why do saints and mystics across every tradition describe remarkably similar experiences of transcendence that can't be reduced to cultural programming?
No, that's exactly backwards. Revolutionary religious movements are just better evolutionary adaptations. They succeed precisely because they solve problems in existing systems while still providing the same psychological benefits. Christianity spread through the Roman Empire because it offered hope to slaves and women, groups excluded by traditional systems. Islam unified warring Arab tribes under one identity. These weren't divine interventions, they were superior social technologies that outcompeted previous religious operating systems.
No, that's reductionist materialism masquerading as analysis. You're explaining away the most profound human experiences as mere social utility. What about personal transformation that defies all social logic? Why do people sacrifice wealth, power, even life itself for spiritual convictions that offer zero evolutionary advantage? Why does prayer measurably affect brain states in ways that pure wishful thinking cannot? You're ignoring the irreducible mystery of consciousness itself.
Wait, irreducible mystery is just intellectual surrender. Those brain states you mentioned, they're produced by meditation, drugs, sensory deprivation, even temporal lobe epilepsy. We can literally induce religious experiences with electromagnetic stimulation. And personal sacrifice for beliefs? That's textbook evolutionary group selection. Individuals who demonstrate ultimate loyalty to shared narratives increase group survival even at personal cost. Every mystical experience has a neurological correlate.
No, correlation is not causation. Finding neural correlates of spiritual experience doesn't prove spiritual experience is nothing but brain activity. That's like saying Beethoven's Ninth Symphony is just air vibrations, or love is merely oxytocin. The fact that consciousness interfaces with matter doesn't mean consciousness is matter. You're committing the fundamental error of scientism, reducing reality to what's measurable by current instruments.
No, I'm applying Occam's razor. When you have a perfectly adequate natural explanation, human beings creating meaning-making systems to cope with existential anxiety, adding supernatural entities is unnecessary complexity. Every single religious claim about the natural world has been systematically debunked by scientific investigation. Creation myths, flood stories, miraculous interventions, all fiction. Why should we trust religious claims about invisible realms when they're demonstrably wrong about visible ones?
Wait, you're conflating ancient cosmology with spiritual truth. Religious texts aren't scientific manuals. They're wisdom literature addressing existential questions science can't even formulate, let alone answer. Science tells us how, but never why. Why does anything exist rather than nothing? Why are mathematical laws beautiful? Why do we experience moral obligations that transcend self-interest? Your materialist worldview can't account for its own rational foundation.
Why questions assume intentional agents where none exist. Why does anything exist is a category error, like asking what color Wednesday is. Mathematical beauty is aesthetic pattern recognition evolved for survival advantage. Moral intuitions are social instincts that helped our ancestors cooperate in groups. No divine command required, just millions of years of social evolution.
No, you're making categorical errors. You assume methodological naturalism in science proves metaphysical naturalism in reality. Science works by deliberately excluding non-material causes. That doesn't prove they don't exist. Your entire worldview rests on the unprovable assumption that material causation is the only causation. But consciousness, intentionality, moral values, these resist reduction to physical processes no matter how sophisticated your neuroscience becomes.
Wait, consciousness is clearly emerging from neural complexity. We can predict, modify, and explain conscious states through brain intervention. Damage specific brain regions, lose specific capacities. No brain activity, no consciousness. As for moral values, they're cultural constructs that vary dramatically across societies. Honor killings, slavery, human sacrifice, all considered moral by some cultures, abhorrent by others. If morality came from God, we'd expect universal agreement, not endless cultural variation.
Cultural variation in moral practices doesn't negate underlying moral principles. Every culture recognizes concepts like justice, compassion, and fairness. They just disagree about application. And consciousness correlating with brain activity doesn't prove consciousness is brain activity. That's like saying radio broadcasts are nothing but radio waves. The receiver doesn't create the transmission. You're making a fundamental category error between correlation and causation.
No, radio waves are measurable independently of receivers. Show me consciousness existing without brains. Your analogy fails because we have no evidence of minds without neural substrates. And those universal moral principles, they're exactly what evolutionary psychology predicts. Cooperation strategies that enhanced group survival. Fairness prevents internal conflict, compassion maintains social bonds, justice deters cheaters. No divine command required, just millions of years of social evolution.
Wait, evolutionary explanations are just so stories without predictive power. You can concoct evolutionary reasons for any human behavior after the fact. Why do humans create art that serve no survival function? Why do we contemplate infinity, sacrifice for strangers, experience wonder at beauty? Your reductionism fails to account for the irreducible richness of human experience. We are more than survival machines. We're beings capable of transcendence.
Art, wonder, and transcendence are all byproducts of cognitive abilities that evolve for other purposes. Pattern recognition, social bonding, predictive modeling, these survival-relevant capacities produce aesthetic and spiritual experiences as side effects. Like our sweet tooth evolved to find nutritious fruit, but now we crave candy. The sense of transcendence is your brain's pattern detection system misfiring when confronted with complexity it can't parse.
No, that's the genetic fallacy. Explaining the evolutionary origins of a capacity doesn't explain away its validity. You wouldn't dismiss mathematics as just evolved pattern recognition. If God created through evolutionary processes, we'd expect religious experience to have natural correlates. The fact that we evolved the capacity for spiritual insight doesn't negate the reality of what that insight reveals. You're confusing mechanism with meaning.
Wait, mathematics has objective validity because it makes accurate predictions about reality. Religious insights produce contradictory claims with zero predictive power. We trust scientific rationality because it delivers measurable results in the physical world. Religious insights generate endless sectarian disputes with no objective resolution mechanism. The proof is in practical effectiveness, not theoretical purity.
No, you're conflating instrumental effectiveness with ultimate truth. Science excels at manipulating physical processes, but remains silent about meaning, purpose, and value.